they are still trying to make the world safer, and they're trying to take care. Each one of them are reaching out to our offices to try to identify Afghans, people that worked with them, to try to get them back home. So they're not stopping sacrificing today. They're still trying to serve. Unfortunately, the Biden administration has let them down. They're watching the country that they had to fight in and the people that they fought alongside be left in chaos. My plea to you at this today is check with the veterans you know to make sure they're doing okay. Talk to them. The concern that they're feeling and the uptick that we're seeing in the calls to the hotlines for those veterans and what they're feeling has increased tremendously. Make sure that you check on them. And if you're a veteran, a service member who served in Afghanistan, and you're feeling this, reach out to this Veteran Crisis Hotline, which is available, and I want to give you that hotline number right now. It's a confidential call. It's 1-800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. Once again, it's called 1-800-273-8255, or text 838-255. Now, know this, to each of the veterans that are listening out there, you're not alone. You didn't fight in vain. You did a great service for this nation, and we know you continue to serve in your communities. And with that, I yield back. And I want to introduce Ranking Member McCall.
No, thank you, Ranking Member Boston. I agree. Today's the day to say thank you to our veterans. They're hurting. They're in a bad place. They wonder, was it worth it? And as they see the Taliban take over, it raises a lot of questions. We just got to have a classified briefing with the Secretary of State Defense, Chairman of Joint Chiefs, the DNI, so all the key components. And as the leader said, we left with more questions than we did with answers. My understanding is the President just announced a firm withdrawal date of August 31st. I can tell you there's no way we can humanly get all of our American citizens and Afghan partners out of country by that time. I've called this consistently an unmitigated disaster of epic proportions. It will be a stain on this presidency, and particularly after the decision made today and what we heard today, he will have blood on his hands. People are going to die, and they're going to be left behind. The biggest credo in the military is no man left behind, no one left behind, and that's precisely what we were doing. We were violating the trust and moral obligation that we gave them. And not only that, but how is this impacting our status in the global community? You know, when our Brits, the Prime Minister and Secretary of Defense, are calling upon us to extend the deadline, the Germans, because they want to get their people out of there as well. But instead, we have a president who's intimidated and is begging to negotiate with the Taliban. To put ourselves in that place where we're begging the Taliban to give us more time to evacuate, and then we give the Taliban exactly what they want, empowering them. I know when Biden met with Putin, Putin said you cannot put your ISR intelligence capabilities in the region. And now we're having the president of Russia telling this president what to do. Our global standing has greatly diminished. We're projecting weakness, not strength. And for months, we told this administration, as the IC briefed us on a grim situation, that it was deteriorating rapidly, and the Taliban's going to take over, Afghans are going to fall. Please get our Americans out. Please get our Afghan partners out. Instead, they're stranded there, our military's pulling out, and they're going to be left behind. And from a world stage standpoint, I can't think of a weaker posture that we could put ourselves in. Our allies no longer trust us, and our enemies no longer fear us, and that's Russia, China, and Iran and Pakistan. This will have grave long-term consequences for our national security down the road. And with that, I'd like to introduce another veteran of Afghanistan, Mr. Banks.
No,
I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers, I apologize.
Listen, Joe Biden has not been listening to anybody. He's not listening now. One fact that was abundantly clear in the briefing we just had is that it is not possible to get all the Americans out of Afghanistan by next Tuesday. And then you heard the president go on the air within the last hour and say, it's still a hard deadline. That is reckless, and it is going to leave blood on people's hands. And everything about this situation that we're in now is Joe Biden's fault. When he told George Stephanopoulos a couple of days ago that none of his advisors advised him against leaving Afghanistan the way he's doing it, that's just a lie. The fact is, Joe Biden made the announcement in April of unconditional withdrawal. In May and June, our committee repeatedly was asking the administration for a plan. How are you going to responsibly withdraw? And they couldn't give us one. I wrote a letter to the president in July asking for a plan. Still hadn't got a response. And now, in August, the Taliban takes over. He's not listening to his advisors. He's not listening to Congress. And this is the result that we've got. When you see ISIS-K and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan about to commit terrorist attacks, no, Joe Biden created this place that we've got over there now to be as dangerous as it is with his reckless decision-making. Either he's senile or he's in denial. But either way, it's reckless for our country, and this disaster that's taking place is his responsibility. And I yield now to Jim Banks of Indiana.
I thank the ranking member and the leader for putting this together today. I served in Afghanistan in 2014 and 15, just prior to being elected to Congress. My job there was as a foreign military sales officer, so I was on the front lines of acquiring the equipment that the Americans provided and turned over to the Afghan Army and the Afghan police. I'm going to read to you what is so painful for me and so many other Afghan veterans who served in that capacity and others who served as a part of the train, advise, and assist, equip effort in helping the Afghans. We now know that due to the negligence of this administration, the Taliban now has access to over $85 billion worth of American military equipment. That includes 75,000 vehicles, over 200 airplanes and helicopters, over 600,000 small arms and light weapons. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries in the world. But they don't just have weapons. They also have night vision goggles, body armor, medical supplies, and unbelievably, unfathomable to me and so many others, is that the Taliban now has biometric devices which have the fingerprints, eye scans, and the biographical information of the Afghans who helped us over the last 20 years. And here's what we just learned again in the briefing that we just walked out of, is this administration still has no plan to get this military equipment or these supplies back. Instead, it's all fallen into the hands of the Taliban. There's still no plan to account for what has happened to these weapons. I can tell you with Ranking Member Rogers behind me that HASC Republicans will fight next week when we go through the National Defense Authorization markup to fight for a plan. If this administration, the Democrats aren't going to do it, we will do it. We will demand a plan to account for all of this military equipment. But here's what I'm concerned about even more than the Taliban acquiring these weapons. It's that we know that Al-Qaeda and ISIS-K still exist and are growing in Afghanistan, and eventually they acquire these weapons. And as I said before, if any American is harmed or killed and not safely evacuated, or if any of this military equipment or weapons are used to harm or kill an American, the blood is directly on Joe Biden's hands. What's also painfully clear from the briefing that we just walked out of is that behind closed doors, the Biden team tells us one thing. They admit mistakes. They know this is a dangerous situation going on in Afghanistan. And President Biden tells us something different. He tells us that everything's okay, that it's under control. So either Joe Biden is lying to us or he's not in touch with the team that just briefed us in the room. And that's a shame as well. So with that, I yield to Representative Waltz from Florida, a fellow Afghanistan veteran.
Mike Waltz from Florida. I've served multiple tours in Afghanistan as a Green Beret on the ground. And this is deeply personal to so many of us. I personally have helped my Afghan interpreters get back to the United States. They're thriving now as American citizens, but their families are being hunted down as we speak. I've also had one that fought with us. His name was Little Spartacus. He was such a fighter. He was intercepted at a Taliban checkpoint with the very American documentation that he needed to get out of here. They didn't just kill him. They took him home to his village and beheaded his brothers and cousins in front of him before then beheading him. I've seen school principals run out of town and murdered after they were hunted down. Their crime, teaching girls. And then the girls' school was burnt down. The Taliban have not changed. And what is clear from the briefings, what has been clear from the months of briefings that our committee have received on the Armed Services Committee, is that a Taliban takeover equals Al-Qaeda 3.0. And one thing that Joe Biden either won't admit or doesn't understand is that what happens in Afghanistan doesn't stay in Afghanistan. It spreads like a cancer. It will follow us home. And many of us have been very clear about that danger across multiple administrations. This isn't about politics. This is about the fact that America now is less safe. Here's why we're in even a worse position than we were in 2001. Because now we have no bases in the region. One thing that's clear from the briefings, and we've been asking for months, is not a single country surrounding Afghanistan, not one, has agreed to allow U.S. forces to base there, to allow our intelligence, our drones, and other things we need to understand what's going on to base there, much less to allow lethal strikes to keep a lid on Al-Qaeda and ISIS and others. The intelligence community has been very clear. They have the will and the intent to hit us again. So as we head into the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we now face a prospect, soldiers having to go back in. Now they have, the Taliban is much more heavily armed. Our local allies have been hunted down. There is no Northern Alliance. There are very small elements left, still willing to resist. And I can tell you we're going to lead that effort from Congress, because the administration won't lead to continue the fight and to continue to keep America safe. This is a disaster on historic proportions, and there needs to be accountability, and that accountability, sadly, is going to come from right here. With that, I yield and I hand off.
All right, so we've just been listening to Congressman Michael Waltz, an Afghan veteran, telling a very personal story. You see Congressman Brian Mast, who we had on our show as well. I actually want to go ahead and listen in to Congressman Mast because he lost his legs in Afghanistan, and we're hearing these pleas from GOP congressmen about how personal this is to them. So let's listen to Florida Congressman Brian Mast here.
Had the honor of serving alongside hundreds of thousands that put on the uniform. I have two brief things to say. One of them is a message to our veterans, and one of them is a request for you, the media, and all Americans, really. This is not a walk and chew gum situation where we go out there and with half of our effort work to get Americans home, and with the other half work on things that are peripheral to that or have nothing to do with that. You as the media can pressure this place. When something's going on here, like working on a bill that has to do with altering voting or infrastructure, you need to ask the question, what the hell are you doing? Get our Americans home. When somebody starts working on something other than getting our Americans home here, say, what the hell are you doing? Work on the rules of engagement for those Marines and Rangers on the ground to make sure that they have everything that they need in place to get the job done and to get home. When somebody's asking some other question here, working on something else in the Rules Committee or something else, say, what the hell are you doing? Did every American get home yet? Did you get all of those SIVs taken care of? When somebody's working on something else, say, what the hell are you doing? 435 of you need to be helping the State Department with every asset within your staff to help them process those SIVs. Get every American to pressure the people in Washington, D.C. here to get every American and every person that helped Americans back here safe out of the hostage hands of the Taliban. That's an active role that you can play. The administration will listen to you. They'll probably listen to you more than anybody else. If we know one thing, it's they're most concerned with optics. And that's probably what's putting more people in danger than anything else. The optics of why they wanted to get out so soon, the optics of why they're not calling this a combat mission. You can help to create the pressure to get people back home. My message for veterans is this. And I spoke about it with my friend Jim Baird earlier, who lost an arm in Vietnam. It wasn't Jim Baird's fault that they lost Vietnam. It was the fault of those in Pennsylvania Avenue. It wasn't the fault of those that trudged over the mountains in Afghanistan, that were in the firefights, that were kicking in doors, that were going through those fields of improvised explosive devices that Afghanistan has lost. It is the fault of those at Pennsylvania Avenue. I yield to Mr. Green.
Mark Green, Tennessee 7. It's also very personal to me as well. I served in the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment early during the war. I was there when Pat Tillman was killed. I vividly remember his flag-draped coffin being brought out to the airfield through a cordon of our nation's Tier 1. I mean, these are the hardest guys in the United States military, toughest, most elite. This flag-draped coffin goes through and there's not a dry eye. I can see it like it was yesterday, going into the back of that C-17, the doors closing, the sun was rising at Bagram. It is imprinted in my brain forever. Like so many other faces and names just like Pat's. I happen to serve the area that surrounds Fort Campbell. About 85% of the people who live at Fort Campbell are in my district. When I go to the Publix, I have to look into the eyes of children who are Gold Star children. This is deeply personal for me. I want to tell those veterans, as has been echoed here before, your service was completely and incredibly valuable to this country. For 20 years, you protected our nation from a terrorist attack. That has value. And the friends that we lost, their sacrifice has value. If you're struggling, rebootrecovery.com. We've talked to many of you, but if you are having a hard time, rebootrecovery.com. I just want to make a point about this disconnect between the president and the truth. He's continually saying things that are completely different than what his own people say. For example, no one thought it was a bad idea to withdraw like this, as has already been mentioned, when we know that people and his senior staff have said we shouldn't withdraw. Things like the Afghan people don't want to leave, yet there were tens of thousands of applications already in process. And I think the thing that really angers me the most is that the Afghan military did not want to fight. That is absolutely incorrect. I served with those men and women. I took care of them when they were wounded on the battlefield. Afghan Special Forces in my hands, bleeding. They are warriors, and they have carried the ground fight, if you go do your homework, for the past several years with over 50,000 casualties. They are brave and they want to fight, but they felt abandoned by the United States of America when they woke up and went to Bagram Airfield and we were gone, crickets. When you withdraw like that, you take the heart of fight out of them, and of course, their fear of a ruthless, beheading Taliban, they blended in. This is a tragedy that is on Joe Biden. But I want to say one more thing before I step down and hand it over to Jake. Your credibility is at stake too. Remember when President Trump made the comment, or it was a speech to NATO, and he left out Article 5, and you guys went crazy. Oh, he doesn't support NATO. This president has been asked to stay in Afghanistan, to support our NATO allies who came to that country on our behalf because we were attacked. And he has said, no, we're getting out by the 31st, regardless of what you think. Now say something about that in the press for your own credibility. I yield to Mr. Elsley.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.